Hello students, welcome once again to the EPG Pathshala. I am Dr. M.N. Gupta, Emeritus Professor from Department of Biochemical Engineering and Biotechnology at Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. Today we are going to talk on the module Stem Cells from paper on immunology. The promises of stem cells go even beyond organ or tissue transplant. If we can use stem cells to repair or reconstruct what has become damaged, the stem cells will differentiate appropriately and the new tissue organ will be in place. Obviously, the problem of immune rejection is here as well. So, there are, along with greater promises, greater challenges. First of all, let us understand how cells actually differentiate from the stem cell onwards. So, the objective of this module are, first of all, to learn about types of division of stem cells. It is also very important that we understand the differences between three different kinds of cells, three different kinds of stem cells. They are stem cells which are totipotent. They are stem cells which are pluripotent, and finally we have stem cells which are just unipotent. The clarity about these concepts are very important as we discuss the applications and the importance of stem cells in stem cell therapy, tissue engineering, and many other interesting and useful areas. We'll also learn about sources of stem cells, from where can we get these different kinds of stem cells. And having learned that there is a difference between totipotent stem cells and unipotent stem cells at the other end of the spectrum, we will learn whatever we know about progression from totipotency to unipotency. The concepts basically which are involved are that how a stem cell, when it replicates, it becomes into, there are two daughter cells, one is a stem cell, another stem cell, and another is a differentiated cell. We will also see that what are the embryonic stem cells and what are the adult stem cells. We will also see that another way of looking at these stem cells is totipotent cells, pluripotent cells, and unipotent stem cells. And we will also try to learn about the cell determination or the process of the cell differentiation in this lecture. We have actually introduced the concept of stem cells twice. Before, without discussing it in detail, we have mentioned couple of times pluripotent hematopoietic cell which gives rise to all the cells of the blood. Few times in this paper, particularly in the early modules. So, this pluripotent hematopoietic cell is now or should be a familiar example to you of a pluripotent stem cell. More recently, while talking of cancer, we mentioned that a terminally differentiated cell, as opposed to a stem cell, starts proliferating to form the neoplasm. Let us first discuss the basics of cell differentiation briefly. It all starts from a stem cell. A stem cell can divide without limit during the lifetime of the animal. Upon division, each daughter has two optional routes. It either remains a stem cell itself and follows the route of its parent cell all over again and again. It can alternatively follow the path of a terminally differentiated cell. A stem cell which can give rise to several cell types is called pluripotent. We have already mentioned, which serves as a good illustration of what pluripotent stem cell is. A pluripotent hematopoietic cell can give rise to several types of blood cells. It should be noted that in the above example, the pluripotent cell, while not terminally differentiated cell, has committed or determined its fate. The further commitment to become a terminally differentiated cell means that it has, by process of differentiation, become a T cell or a B cell or a non-lymphocytic cell. But however, this much commitment is made that it is going to be a cell which forms part of the blood. It is going to be differentiated into a blood cell and not a liver cell or heart cell. On the other hand, unipotent cells are stem cells which can give rise to only one type of cells. An epidermal stem cell is going to be differentiated into a keratinized epidermal cell. Thus, it is a sort of a more firm commitment, a more specific commitment in terms of differentiation. The commitment is made during differentiation. Similarly, the spermatogonium is the stem cell For spermatozoa, it's a unipotent stem cell that certainly it is going to become, after differentiation, a spermatozoa cell. So at some point a cell decides its future, that it will become a specialized cell. This is almost like during your education, when you started, you were exposed to social sciences, physics, chemistry, what are called natural sciences, and so on and so forth. Somewhere down the line, you are asked to commit that either you will take subjects which will be science subjects or the commerce subjects. But what type of science you will do, whether you will become a physicist or a chemist, that commitment was not made during your school education. That comes much later down the line. So you can consider your whole pathway of the education as you move along from early classes to the college and beyond. Then you become, in terms of differentiation, into a more greater commitment, the fate decided, and ultimately you become a specialized cell that when you, for example, if you enter IIT and join a particular department, then you know that you're going to be an electrical engineer. So this decision may be partial in the sense that such as to become a pluripotent hematopoietic stem cell, or more complete, to become a skin cell of a particular organ. So it's a question of down the line, when you go on making, you start committing yourself more and more, and that's what the cell does. Now in both cases here, we say a cell has determined at this point the developmental potential is to carry out the specific biological function or to assume a particular morphology, and that is in place. So cell differentiation is a process by which selective gene expression takes place, which results in the specific cell type. A terminal differentiation in many ways leads a cell to lose its ability to proliferate. A RBC has no nuclei and does not divide. The nucleus in the outermost layers of skin is digested away. In the striated muscle cells, myofibrils hinder mitosis and cytokinesis. Some cells in mammals, like nerve cells, heart muscle cells, and receptor cells in eyes and ears and eye lens fiber, neither undergo cell division nor are replaced, and there is no cell renewal. However, in some cells, cellular components are renewed. In adult eye lens, lens proteins are formed at embryonic stage within eye, while photoreceptor cells do not divide. Photosensitive protein molecules have a turnover. So biosynthetic activities continues, and within some cells, some renewal is possible. Majority of cells in a vertebrate are undergoing apoptosis and replacement on a continued basis. The new differentiated cell is either formed from cell duplication or formed by a differentiation of a stem cell. Two important examples of cells which renew by simple duplication are liver cells and endothelial cells. Liver is an example of an organ where its cells, hepatocytes, renew at a slow rate. However, even there is a homeostatic mechanism which ensures that cell division and cell death balance each other and organ size remains same. In case of intentional, that is in the animal experiments, or accidental cases where large cells have died, cell renewal accelerates in response signals from blood in the form of hepatocyte growth factor. Under normal circumstances, for all tissue components, regeneration is coordinated. Liver has, besides hepatocytes, Kupffer cells and few fibroblasts supporting framework of connective tissue. Excess alcohol intake, frequently repeated, does not allow adequate rate of renewal of hepatocytes. Fibroblasts continues to grow and end up clogging the tissue irreversibly with connective tissue. This is the well-known liver cirrhosis. The endothelial cells lining blood vessels follow more flexible renewal rate, which is adjusted to local requirement. In all parts of the vascular system, endothelial cells divide by duplication. These cells also can move. Some damage at its site, such as insertion of tubing by surgeon, new endothelial cells move and cover this surface. The cells lining the gut are good example of cells which are renewed via stem cells. Here epithelium is formed by a monolayer of cell. This covers both villi and crypts. The stem cells are in the crypts. Upon differentiation, these reach villi tips ultimately. Here apoptosis occurs. Epidermis, which covers the skin, is multi-layered. Here also renewal by stem cells involves outer surface cells being replaced by differentiation of stem cells in the lower layer. In all such cases, stem cells fulfill the need to replace existing population of differentiated cells which cannot divide. As we have already discussed in several tissues, differentiated cells cannot divide further for multiple reasons. Let us look at the stem cell differentiation more closely as an example. Only basal cells on the basal lamina undergo mitosis. Over the top surface are dead cells which do not have any distinguishing organelles and form squames, that is the flat scales rich in protein keratin. About 1 out of the 10 to 12 basal cells is a stem cell. As a cell line, these remain throughout the lifetime of the animal. Hence, each patch of epidermis has at least one such immortal stem cell. Upon division, an immortal cell line can divide to give one stem cell plus one cell which differentiate to ultimately become a part of squamous. Apparently, not all basal cells are alike. Basal cells which have larger expression of extracellular matrix, receptors of integrin family, bind better to basal lamina. These are able to proliferate, differentiate and leave the basal layer. These, similar to about 10%, constitute subset of basal cells and are immortal stem cells. This influence of basal lamina is not constant. The tissue culture in vitro studies show that proliferation of undifferentiated cells can accelerate if the need arises. Thus, in case of wound, renewal of skin cells at the top required that this proliferation is accelerated. Stem cells, upon differentiation, shade away the receptor which were binding them to basal lamina. Once the skin at the top are restored to its original thickness and coverage area, division of the basal cells drops back. A skin disease, psoriasis, caused by proliferation of basal cells is high, but cells from top layer fall off prematurely before complete keratinization has taken place. What we talked about stem cells, in fact, has been a discussion on what are called adult stem cells. As we have seen, these are a small percentage of cells present along the population of differentiated cells in a tissue or organ. The primary role is to maintain, repair, or renew the tissue. The adult stem cell is yet to differentiate into a cell type to have a specialized structure and function in the tissue or organ. Their differentiation happens all the time during the lifetime of an individual. The frequency of the differentiation or proliferation depends upon many factors and vary from organ to organ. Some scientists prefer the term somatic stem cell to adult stem cell. Initially, it was not known that such cells occur within the organ or the tissue. The discovery of their occurrence in many tissues raised the hope of their use in tissue engineering. It was in 1960s that two types of cells, hematopoietic stem cells and bone marrow stromal cells, were discovered in bone marrow. While the former can differentiate into all types of blood cells, the latter can be differentiated only into bone, cartilage, fat cells, and fibrous connective tissues. Around the same time, adult brain was found to contain stem cells which can transform into two major non-neuronal cells, astrocytes and oligodendrocytes, and neurons, which are nerve cells. Around this time, by now, adult stem cells have been discovered in brain, bone marrow, peripheral blood cells, vessels, skeletal muscles, skin, and liver. In some cases, adult stem cells may remain as stem cells and start dividing in case of an injury or a pathological situation. Take cells from a living animal, grow them in a culture, label and transplant the labeled cell to the animal, and check if the transplanted cells survive. Grow isolated cells and manipulate by addition of factors, introduction of new genes, etc. to see whether a differentiated cell type different from the original cell emerges. The basic criterion in all these methods is that a stem cell should be able to form a clone of identical cell types. Hence, what we have discussed so far are the cases in which adult stem cells were identified and their differentiation route in some tissues tracked. However, it is not always easy to identify an adult stem cell unequivocally. The pluripotency, the ability to differentiate to form different cell types, is also called plasticity or transdifferentiation. We still do not understand the mechanism of somatic stem cell transdifferentiation. Insight into these helps us in devising protocols for converting stem cells from a healthy tissue and use it for tissue engineering, which is basically repair or repopulation of an unhealthy or dead tissue part. Some challenges which remain, at least in part, are: in what all tissues adult stem cells occur and of how many types. As we have discussed, increasingly we are learning about this in more and more organs and tissues. The next worry is about understanding how do somatic stem cells originate in different organs and tissues. Given identical environments, why some are stem cells and others are not, like in epithelium? Why about 10% of the cells in the basal layer are stem cells, whereas rest lack these properties? What factors induce stem cells to change their differentiation or proliferation rate, and why only in some cases relocation of the stem cells, differentiated cells, is more facile. Finally, adult stem cells are pluripotent, but they are not totipotent. We have to understand what are the totipotent cells and when do they lose totipotency. It is also important to understand how can we control the rejection of implanted cell mass during tissue engineering by the immune system. At present, there are different ways of obtaining stem cells. Adult stem cells can be obtained from many tissues now. Fetal stem cells are obtained from aborted fetuses or umbilical cord blood. Embryonic stem cells can be obtained from either discarded samples of in vitro fertilizations or by a technique called somatic cell nuclear transfer or simply SCNT or nuclear transfer. Briefly, somatic cell nuclear transfer consists of placing a normal cell into a fertilized egg from which nucleus has been removed. Fertilized egg provides the necessary microenvironments for reprogramming the cell to become a precursor primordial form. There are obvious ethical barriers in working with embryonic stem cells. One argument is that adult stem cells are available and are a promising system for stem cell therapy. The two kinds of stem cells have, however, many differences. We still do not completely understand the nature of adult stem cells in tissues. Purely in terms of gaining insights of fundamental nature, working with both types of cells, that is adult stem cells and embryonic stem cells, helps. To remove common misconception is also necessary. Embryonic stem cells are not obtained from a woman's reproductive organs. These are, as stated above, are obtained from in vitro fertilization clinics. Human embryonic stem cells are derived from embryos which are about 4 to 5 days old. At this stage, embryos are hollow spheres of cells and are called blastocysts. A blastocyst has three structural components: trophoblast, which consists of the surrounding layer cells. The second component is blastocoel, which is a hollow cavity. And finally, inner cell mass, which has about 30 cells present at one end of the blastocoels. For growing in the laboratory, the following steps are followed for embryonic stem cells. Inner cell mass is transformed to a dish culture medium. Inner surface of the dish has a coating. This coating is called feeder layer and consists of undividing mouse skin stem cells. The feeder layer provides an adhering surface to the dividing cells from the inner cell mass. Mouse cells also release necessary substances into growth medium. As these are potential sources of viruses and other biological structures which may get transformed to the growing human embryonic stem cells, lately methods have been developed which do not require this feeder layer. After sufficient growth, cells are removed and distributed to different dishes, again for subculturing. Each subculturing cycle is technically called a passage. After about 6 months, 30 cells around yield millions of stem cells. If these remain undifferentiated, these are embryonic stem cell lines. An established cell line facilitates collaborative research which can be validated among different groups. There are tests to identify whether cells obtained are embryonic stem cells. One obvious way is to keep them subculturing and examine the cells microscopically to confirm that no differentiation has occurred. Surface markers, which are characteristics of undifferentiated cells, can be tested. Undifferentiated cells also produce a transcription factor, OCT4, whose presence can be checked. To check for the number of and damage, if any, to the chromosomes. Allow the cells to differentiate into specific cell types to check its pluripotency is another a good test. Inject the cells into an immunosuppressed mouse and see whether a benign tumor called tetroma is formed. A tetroma contains both differentiated and partly differentiated cells, and its formation confirms pluripotency. Embryonic stem cells, sometimes simply called EST, are totipotent. Hence, they offer enormous opportunities in regeneration medicine. The applications, however, require that we learn how to make them differentiate into a specific cell type. This slide shows an outline. Embryonic stem cells, upon clumping, form embryoid bodies which begin to differentiate spontaneously. However, this does not help in obtaining specific cell types. Protocols for differentiating embryonic stem cells into specific cell type involve nature of nutrient broth, surface of growth, and genetic manipulation of cells. Animal systems have contributed a lot to our understanding of cell differentiation from embryonic stem cells onwards. A growing embryo is surrounded by membranes. To start with, cells which form extra embryonic tissues later on cover the pre-embryonic cells. The thick lining, zona pelluda, is part of the egg cell cover. Cell divisions form first morula and then a blastocyst with blastocoel. So these stages are similar to what has been observed with stem cells. There is a proper embryo with an epithelial lining called trophectoderm. At this point, blastocyst emerges from zona pellucida and trophectoderm becomes extra embryonic cells. After additional divisions, egg moves from ovary to uterus and attaches to endometrium. The blastocyst is engulfed by endometrial cells. Cells of trophectoderm, that are trophoblasts, differentiate into cytotrophoblasts and syncytotrophoblast. Cytotrophoblasts encircle the inner cell mass, and cytotrophoblast is a multinuclear cell which attaches blastocyst to uterine wall. In all animal, gastrulation takes 3 layers of cells which are of different tissue types. These are called primordial germ layers. Different organs form from different germ layers. The central cavity of the somites, clumps of mesodermal cells, differentiate to become chest and abdominal cavities, muscles, and skeletal system cells. Some mesodermal cells, called mesenchymal cells, interact with endodermal cells to become different cell types to form organ. Mesenchymal cells are highly proliferative, pluripotent stem cells, and their sources include bone marrow adipose tissues and umbilical cord blood. Umbilical and mesenchymal cells do not express MHC class II, that is HLA-DR antigens. Nevertheless, these are not rejected 4 months after transplantation, even without immunosuppressive. These stem cells can also differentiate into neurons and thus potentially restore neurogenesis, angiogenesis, and synaptic plasticity. Recent studies suggest that the adult stem cells from a tissue can differentiate into cell types of other tissues. So a term multipotent adult progenitor cells, normally abbreviated as say MAPCs, has been suggested. As an example, mesenchymal stem cells were found to differentiate into cell types of visceral mesoderm, neuroectoderm, and endoderm. When injected into an early blastocyte, such cells, MAPs, could differentiate into many somatic cell types: hematopoietic, epithelium of liver, gut, and lung. It was found that the MAPs require culture parameters similar to embryonic stem cells and in fact express some markers of embryonic stem cells like OCT4, REX1, and SSEA1. Similarly, bone marrow stromal cells could undergo unorthodox differentiation to possibly form neural cells. This returns us to the question of when cells lose totipotency. It is believed that the loss of totipotency takes place at different developmental stages in the different organisms. In mammals, a blastocyte cyst can give rise to a normal animal when implanted in a host uterus, but the host mother has to be treated with appropriate hormones. Many studies indicate that it's a group of cells and not a single cell which is a progenitor of developing structure. The loss of totipotency in adult and stem cells may occur because of irreversible rearrangement changes in the genes during differentiation. Let us look at how the dermis determines the type of structures produced by epidermis. There is enough evidence that during differentiation of cells in developing tissue and organs, intercellular interactions play important roles. This is illustrated in the slide. Endoderm-mesoderm interactions dictate the internal organ formations in some cases. In other cases, the other germ layers take part in inducing the differentiation. This slide shows that how the various components like wing ectoderm and leg mesoderm, etc. arise. Let us have another look at the production of differentiated cells from stem cells. Tissues like skin, blood, and intestinal epithelium have short life of few days. Stem cells thus are necessary to regenerate cells to maintain the adult organ. In some cases, differentiation to a new cell during stem cell division may be delayed by initial formation of a precursor to differentiated cells. Thus, the population of differentiated cells in a tissue is controlled. While we have limited information that cell determination occurs at some stages, in what ways, that is particularly at the molecular level, This commitment to follow a particular differentiation path differs from the events which occur during differentiation is in fact not much understood. We, however, do know that cell-cell interactions are important, but there again cell-cell signaling which is involved in this process is not completely understood. It is known that during cell determination, cell proliferation occurs at high rate. After differentiation, cell proliferation slows down. Finally, as mentioned before, terminally differentiated cells like in skin and red blood cells do not divide. We do not yet completely understand controlling mechanisms for this cell growth versus differentiation paradigm. In many cases, use of adult stem cell is yielding exciting results in stem cell therapy. Greater understanding of cell determination and cell differentiation will enable further progress obviously. The challenges to avoid immune rejection in stem cell therapy are more or less similar to what we discussed during organ transplantation. In this lecture, we learnt about embryonic stem cells and adult stem cells, sources of stem cells. Then we also learnt about totipotency, pluripotency and unipotency, and we learnt about cell determination and cell differentiation. Stem cell therapy and regenerative medicine is a frontier area at the interfaces of cell biology, immunology and medical sciences. So what we have discussed above is just a quick overview of basic background and a glimpse of what is possible. In many cases, as happens in any fast developing area, claims and counterclaims are frequent. Hence, we have refrained from discussing in details of individual cases of tissue engineering or stem cell therapy. Thank you.